Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel and some more Birthright domain coverage here. We're wrapping up the Northern Marches, and today, again, starting off the little end series here, covering the other domains. So today will be the temples, and specifically the Northern Reformed Church of Sarimie. So, quick description here. So the two most influential temples are the Oaken Grove, which we'll see is mainly in Dosone, and kind of a rival to the efforts here of the Northern Reformed Church. So, and there's some various other ones scattered throughout the north, but also found, again, Heartland's western coast and the eastern marches, so not as important here. Now, interestingly, if you want to run this domain, you have a couple allies. So the leader of the Stone Crown Coster, Source of the Mazel, and Northlands Exchange is actually in some of the expanded information that's out there, which we'll get into someday, is definitely positively disposed toward you, and they kind of run similar interests, or have similar interests, right? Because the Northern Church here is actually set to neutral evil, which, pretty interesting in and of itself. And the type of the way the church is set up, basically, or this particular sect of Sarimie, you can definitely have some fun with this in a role-playing sense as well, but also expanding the way you can expand your domain and sort of work on the hearts and minds of the various peoples. So this one, interestingly, though, is not available to players, but again, for DMs, you can definitely just have a ball with this. So something to keep in mind there. Now, some of these other ones in the other areas will potentially be available, but again, we're going to focus mainly on this. So not available for PCs, but a neutral evil church, but not so much because they're going out and committing truly evil deeds in that sense. Just it's more on the financial side. So it concentrates power in larger cities and towns in the north, centers of wealth. Some smaller temples also appear throughout the countryside. So you don't have that many holdings, but I mean, you are pretty much everywhere in the three provinces in Cariel, and really high level holdings there. Your biggest ones, right? You got 2 level 5 temples and a level 3. So there's a potential certainly to bring that level 3 up as the DM, and sort of stamp out what little alternative there is toward you. So, but your fate in that will kind of be also tied to the fate of the guilds there. Now, you do have some fairly decent holdings in Dosone, although much smaller. You do have a couple level 3s, though. So, but that's mainly your more immediate expansion there as DM, and just depending on what else is going on for your campaign. So you can expect players running any sort of competing ones may cause you a little bit of grief here and there. Now, you don't have to worry so much about the non-human ones, especially those aligned to the Gorgon and so on and so forth. Obviously, those won't really be that big of an issue. But the Prelate here is definitely a pretty formidable NPC to run and have players encounter. So you have a fairly good war chest too. 30 gold bars is nothing to sneeze at, and considering that that's more than a lot of the political domains have access to, that's pretty good stuff, especially for the north here. Regency could be a little bit better, but again, that can be worked on. But anyway, the Prelate here, Laura Neelam's level 8 priest, and is a pretty good bloodline as well, but neutral evil, governs the Northern Reformed Church. She views it as a money-making organization. So there you can just have fun with that as your players encounter the Northern Church or have to deal with it, or if you have PCs that are starting off as members of the church, whatever cleric might be in a PC's party. So you could definitely through the rules and regulations of the church sort of pass on that, and that could lead to some fun role-playing moments there as you really hammer home the money-making aspects and find ways to bring that into the campaign. And basically, it is the dominant church of Cariel, and indeed most of the northern marches, again, which really means all of the 2 domains there, because the others are non-human. So you're really not going to win converts in the elven domain, because they don't worship gods, and the other non-humans, again, not so much going to be an option for you. Now, you have other ways you can expand. Of course, you can go south as the DM. So even if your group or your campaign, your players are focused more on the Heartlands, you could potentially have the church expanding that direction. Or if you're little bit further north in the Rurik realms, and again, if you're one of your PCs that that's part of your campaign, could be tasked with maybe trying to go win converts among the Rurik, and so on and so forth. And again, I think the central conflict, religiously at least, will be between that and the Oaken Grove, sort of balancing the tradition of the peoples of the North with the very real fact that it's becoming more populated and mercantile, and just focusing on putting coin in people's wallets, and then having them spend that, as opposed to sort of living off of and respecting the land anymore. So again, a lot of that is intricately going to be tied with the guilds of the North here, but then also Cariel in particular. So just a lot of that is going to be more complicated and interwoven there. So, but something that you'll have to manage as a DM for your various campaigns in the North. So, but certainly should always have a presence anytime you're in those two domains of Cariel and Dosone. But again, sadly not available for players, but it could be something that you could certainly really have fun acting and role-playing, basically, as the DM, as you play up those elements of the church again. So I feel like you could really run with the whole money-making organization part of it, and just have some fun with it again. So the others here that are available in the North, or have some presence at least, so you have Moradin's Forge, Halen's Aegis, again the Oaken Grove of Eric, Halen's Bastion of Truth, the Hand of Azrai, Hidden Temple of Kurakin, Voss of the Five Peaks. And again, depending on what happens in the Five Peaks in your campaign, that could be one where if your intent is to conquer parts of it and like truly settle it and sort of stamp out the lawlessness, then that it's essentially fresh territory for a DM. So that could be one where, again, like there's like a crusade or some sort of quest to help that and expand the church that way. Again, depending on what your PCs are up to. Voss of the Five Peaks, approved temple, the approved temple of Markazor. That's hilarious. Goblin Triumph for Goblin's Triumph, and then again, some of these are found in the Heartlands, Western Marches, Western Coast and Eastern Marches. So, so not so much things available for the PCs to run in the North, but again, nothing says, or there's nothing preventing, somebody starting a rival church or splintering off from them potentially at some point. So, and it could be one where, maybe as part of the campaign, something happens to the prelate, the existing prelate, or you work yourself up high enough and maybe eventually take over and could be, gifted running this as an actual domain as a PC at some point. So, again, don't feel like anything is always set in stone here, so that could be a wonderful sort of end goal of rising from the ranks as a low-level priest, and then through deeds and everything else, eventually rising up to be able to run the domain. That could be a wonderful gift as a DM to bestow upon the player. So let us know your experiences, guys, with the religions of the Northern Marches here, again, specifically Church of Sarimie, and how that has factored into your campaigns. Now, again, we're going to touch more on this when we review the guilds, because, again, of their sort of intricate relation there, and we'll touch on some of the other things from the expanded lore, but that will be a separate video at some point as well. So hope you enjoyed, and we'll be back with more.